Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast. Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floater to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention. Don't tell me what to do, devil woman.
But
Speaking of those Lakers,
But I hold on.
but I didn't make my.
Hold
I didn't
on,
make
mate.
my. I said Denver's gonna win.
Yeah, you did. You said that.
There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jawing About the G-Man, the Giants Football Podcast. I'm Big J, joined as always by Joe Aguirre and Sean Scanlon. And, I mean, a lot has happened with free agency all around the NFL. But first, we got to start off talking about the Giants. And, Joe, you weren't here last week, so you didn't get to talk about Leonard Williams getting the franchise tag. But he gets re-signed, 3 years, $63 million. How do you feel about that?
I want to point out two things. Number one, this doesn't make the Giants a better football team after the deal is done, right? I mean, let's be honest. This is just you lost Dalvin Tomlinson. That actually hurts this team. So great that they locked in Williams. Great that they were able to do the long-term deal, if you will. And 3 years isn't, I think, what anybody thought was going to happen. But it does free up some money. They went right to adding some depth in John Ross. So I was just reading a short while ago that they're making a big push now for Kenny Golladay. So I'm excited about this. For anybody who's like Leonard Williams ain't worth it. Did you watch the any games last season? To me, Leonard Williams proved his worth. He proved that trade was right, and that's one of those things that for me, Dave Gettleman kind of feel real good about.
Yeah, I mean, he was a star on that defense. But, Sean, Joe brought up the John Ross acquisition. What do you think of that 1 year, $2.5 million? How do you think he will benefit the Giants?
Yeah, as long as he stays healthy, I didn't really mind the contract at all. I think it's very good, especially for the cheap. I think there's a lot of high upside there. Obviously, we all know that he's a speedster. He obviously holds the record for the fastest 40 time ever, and he's another deep threat for Daniel Jones. And we know that Daniel Jones is a really good deep ball passer. So I think if he can stay healthy, I think it's a smart contract. So if it doesn't end up working out, then it's just a small contract for $2 million. But if it does, then we have another deep threat. We have another weapon for Daniel Jones. So I thought it was a pretty good signing. It's pretty low risk and high upside. So I thought it was a pretty smart move by Dave Gettleman.
And I know they came out and they're working towards restructuring Nate Solder. I know you said last week how important figuring out what they're going to do with him is. So what do you think? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's important. They actually did restructure the contract, so it's going to be $4 million less to the cap hit. So I think it's smart to have a tackle behind Andrew Thomas and Matt Parrott. Obviously they're two young guys. Andrew Thomas started all the games last year, and Matt Parrott, he got some playing time, but especially if it doesn't work out in camp, I think you're going to need a veteran back there to bring back. So I wasn't, like I stated last week, I wasn't a big fan of the Zeitler cutting because I think we need a lot of help at guard right now. I think that's probably the weakest spot of this whole line. But I think if we were going to pick one or the other and we ended up with Solder, that I think it was important to restructure his contract because he couldn't be taking the cap hit that he was supposed to, heading into this year. So I think it was smart to bring him back, but I do worry about this whole line going forward, though.
All right. Now, Zay, there's only been a couple moves. Free agency is still starting up. We aren't done. There's still targets for the Giants going forward. Who do you think is the biggest left with all the acquisitions that have happened so far around the league, and then obviously the two ones that the Giants have made already?
Honestly, I think it's Golladay. Like they said, I think the Giants have to find a way to lock up some type of receiver. John Ross is he's a great addition, a great veteran piece, a great veteran in the locker room, I think. And he came on a friendly deal, but he's not going to be a receiver who turns it around. So I think they need to make sure they get Golladay and try as much as they can to get him, because they need someone who's going to, draw flags and these penalties down the field when necessarily not open, because the Giants don't have anybody like that. And the receivers that they do have, for the most part, are guys on the smaller side. So they also don't, bully corners. They don't, fight for the ball as much. They tend to be more like short slot guys in the tackle type of guys. But the Giants need to get a big body receiver. And I think Golladay is one of those people they need to go and focus on.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I think a under the radar guy that the Giants should be going after is a Kyle Van Noy. He just got cut from the Dolphins. He schematically, I think he fits in well to get after the quarterback as that outside linebacker for in a Patrick Graham scheme. And I mean, obviously, he's familiar with Patrick Graham and Joe Judge being from New England and the Dolphins. Now, if he were to come to the Giants, it'd be awesome. But now.
There's no money. It's part of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, he just got cut. We'll see. There's still free agency, still young, so we will see what happens. But now let's take a look at the rest of the league, not just the Giants. And Joe, what's the biggest signing so far that has really surprised you?
To me, it's what the Patriots have done. They are going to town, and Bill Belichick clearly not a fan of Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl without him, while he struggled along at 6-10. And so he is going to rebuild that bad boy and probably win that division next season. Cam Newton did not want to return, was all but decided he would move down south, where I think I think he's got his kid. I forget exactly the familial situation, but he wanted to be down south, and has decided to come back another year for the Patriots, which tells me he had a combo with Bill. Bill's like, I'm going to load up on some talent, and we're going to make a run. And I know Sean's eyes lit up when I said maybe win that division next year. The Bills and the Dolphins are obviously very good. The Jets have a chance to, come in last, so that's good.
Jets, yeah.
I think the Patriots, man.
Corey Davis is the savior.
They signed some good players. The Jets made some surprisingly good signs this offseason for the first time. None of these bonehead moves they make in the past. I think that the Jets are heading in the right direction. So to say that that New England is going to just take the division next year, that's a huge statement, Joe. I think it's not as great schematic.
I don't think it's that big of a statement, but
listen, honestly,
there is definitely competition.
You guys not for nothing. They are still a little concerned about Tua in Miami. With good reason. Although I think Tua is going to be the biggest stud of all these young quarterbacks. I think right now he's shown the least of anybody by a long shot. But there is concern about Tua, so that's a fact. And,
what about Josh Allen? Your guy. Your guy, Josh Allen. Now he's just going to give up the division next year?
No. Listen, I want to be clear about this. I didn't say they were going to win a division. I said they could win a division. Now, look, Buffalo's a really good football team. Is Buffalo going to take it next level, or do they level out a little bit? And I think if you're the Patriots, you're investing big and you're hoping that maybe it levels out a little bit, that they're not like a 12-14 next year, and that you could be within striking distance of the division, is what I should say, and that you would at least be in play for a wild card spot. I mean, Bill does not want to be denied, clearly, and it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Tom Brady has wanted the Patriots to do all this time, spend the money. He's taking the pay cut so they could spend the money, and then they have shown then they were hesitant. But now that Tom's gone and he's had his success with the Bucks. No, yeah, and under the radar, yep.
Good
Emmanuel
call,
Sanders
Trav,
for the
yeah.
Bills. Yeah, that's going to be a big one.
So that's one more move in the right direction for Buffalo, Zay. Get that guy some more weapons around him for sure. But they probably really need to look into developing a running game.
Yeah,
that was hugely problematic. So,
yeah, I mean, we will see if Zach Moss and Devin Singletary pick up the pace from last year. But I mean, going from the Patriots, you naturally have to go to the Bucks, Super Bowl champs. Sean, what did you think of them? Did they pretty much brought back everyone that they needed to, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had a great that was going to be my pick for the best move in the free agency was just the Bucks as a whole. Obviously, they franchise tag Chris Godwin, their number 2 receiver, who is probably one of the best number 2 receivers in the league, and then obviously bringing back Levante David, him and Devin White are probably the best linebacker duo in the league. They're dynamic, and then Shaq Barrett, the best pass rusher. So they really reloaded with everyone, and Gronk on top of that. They're good tight end, who showed up in clutch moments. Obviously, he didn't have a great receiving season last year, but he had 2 touchdowns when it mattered most in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, they bring back that great core. Obviously, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, and Ndamukong Suh are still out there. But I really wouldn't be surprised if they brought them back, too, because I think Jason Light, the Bucs general manager, knows what he's doing. Obviously, he's built a lot of talent around there, and they're definitely going to push for that back-to-back Super Bowl championship, and they're doing all the right moves right now. So I think that they've been the biggest winners so far of this free agency.
Zay, who was an underrated signing? What's someone who went somewhere that not a lot of people are talking about, but you think they're going to do pretty well?
I'm glad you asked me that. I honestly think Jameis Winston signing with the Saints is completely underrated. I think with Drew Brees retiring, and if Jameis Winston can find a way to figure out how to get the ball to receivers without turning the ball over so much, he could be the future franchise quarterback of that team. He has won a national championship. He's won at the high school level. He can play this game of football. He just has to learn how to stop turning over the ball. So if Taysom Hill turns out to not be the quarterback that they expect him to be, and Jameis Winston can win that battle in training camp, I think that right there is a huge signing, because now you don't have to go look for another quarterback. You have it at home, and it just makes filling out other pieces around you even easier.
I like that one. Jameis is solid. Joe, who lost the most in free agency?
The team I think that failed the most in free agency in this whole period and everything that's been happening is the Chicago Bears.
Whew, yeah.
The Chicago Bears, and I don't know how serious things got. I was reading this a little bit earlier, made a serious play for Russell Wilson, and in doing so missed out on everybody else and then signed Andy Dalton. Chicago. Oh, boy.
The Cowboys. You said he was great last year.
I was joking. Come on. This might be it for. I mean, you got Nick Foles and Andy Dalton now going to battle out for the starting quarterback position on a team that. I mean, this shocks me, right? I mean, I grew up with Jim McMahon as their quarterback, and what people forget about Jim McMahon was he was good for like 3 years, and that was it. The Bears have just honestly never had a good quarterback, and I'm sure their eyes lit up at they never had a good quarterback.
I would say Cutler was bad. I wouldn't say he was bad. I would
Jay
say
Cutler. Okay,
he's probably their best, honestly.
Yeah, he had his times.
You could argue he's the best quarterback. I would say this in my lifetime. That was the best quarterback the Bears have had. And since I've lived significantly longer than all of you guys, that's really bad.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks for the Bears, Jay Cutler's on it.
Sid Luckman.
Jim McMahon's on it. Sid Luckman, right?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
I
not
mean,
great.
good Lord. There's slim pickings, dude. Slim pickings.
Mm-hmm. That's the Bears, always with a great defense and no quarterback at all. So, and it just continues to be the same.
But isn't that shocking that over the years, and again,
Wait, Rex
Jay
Grossman?
Cutler, again, understand too, Jay Cutler played in an era of where teams were throwing the football more too.
Not as
So-
now. Not like now. Not like now. Teams
Not-
aren't throwing the ball like
not like
They-
now,
not
but
like
certainly
They were
not
throwing a
like
lot,
they were.
though.
But not like they were doing in the 70s and 80s, where especially when Walter Payton was there, it was just give the ball to Walter Payton, and that was basically the game plan. So again, some of Cutler's numbers are slightly, elevated just because of the era that he played in. So again, it makes him maybe their all-time greatest quarterback. But can you imagine going that long? And at no point do you have like an all-pro quarterback that emerges any of these guys that you've selected. That is like a shocking amount. Again, when I talk about having the right guy, right? Like in a guy like having an Eli Manning. Listen, having an Eli Manning, a guy who, right? Fair point. Again, could you compare Cutler to Eli Manning? No, not even close.
No.
Not even close. Not even close. And you're talking about Eli. There's a lot of people like, that's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. Jay Cutler can't even hold his jockstrap. So that's their best quarterback. Again, it just doesn't speak well for what Chicago's done. And it's shocking that they just can't find the right guy. You would think somebody like Mitchell Trubisky should have been the right guy there.
We should have.
But it seemed like they were asking for him to do too much. Like, you got to, again, we talk about this all the time. You have the right guy in the system who can do what you want to do. That guy's got to have that skill set. I think Jameis Winston is going to win the starting job in New Orleans over Taysom Hill. We've already seen that Hill puts up nice numbers, but it takes Kamara out of the game. It's a huge problem for them. And so, again, it seems to me that Jameis Winston would be primed to be the guy that could run that offense more like Drew Brees, and thus that seems like that would be the guy I would want starting.
He's not terrible. He just throws a lot of turnovers. He still throws like 30 touchdowns on top of those 24 interceptions and shit. But he's a good quarterback. His last year
with the Bucs, he threw for 5,000 yards, and like they said, 30 touchdowns. It's just he also threw for 30 interceptions. But I do believe that the same. I think Sean Payton's a great offensive mind, so I think he's gonna somewhat limit the turnovers, and I think it's gonna open up the Saints' offense more. Obviously, Drew Brees. He was only throwing 5 to maybe 10 yards downfield. He just didn't have the arm strength anymore. So I think we're going to see a lot more deep routes from the Saints team. And I think they're going to be even more explosive than they were with Drew Brees.
He used Mariota as an example. I don't even think Mariota's going to be in the league anymore after next year. That was a horrible example.
I didn't.
Trevor put on the screen.
I didn't see what it said.
To think that they should have took Mariota, Jameis over Mariota is crazy.
No. He's talking about the Bears.
Oh, okay. The Bears.
He's talking about the Bears. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Again, and I posted that. Yeah. Sorry to confuse you. No, to me, again, Mariota or Dalton, really. Geez, if I have to pick one, it'd probably be Mariota, not Dalton. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like the right fit there, but yeah, I feel bad for the Bears. They came up really short here, and they got the two different wide receivers trying to get out of town. Anthony Miller, who they want to move. Robinson wants out, so not good. Not good if you're Chicago. This could not have played out any worse. The coaching, the QB carousel is spinning, and as it stops, the Bears are like, Dalton. Okay.
Yeah. Ian Rappaport just tweeted out the Giants have been in talks with Kenny Golladay, and they expect to bring him in for a visit. There's mutual interest. That was 3 minutes ago. So
let's go.
He's coming in for a visit. So it's looking good right now.
I don't trust it.
Maybe
that's
something.
That's Ian Rappaport. He's one of the best insiders in the league.
Well,
I got him and Schefter's tweets on notifications right now. I need it.
I can't get
real quick. That brings up an interesting thing, because if they do go with Golladay, if they sign Golladay, then what does that do for the draft?
You get a defensive end.
You get a defensive end. Who's
unless you were going to move your tight end and go get Kyle Pitts, you have to get the defensive end, because Evan Ingram, he's either got to go or he's going to stay. It's one of the two with the Giants. They have to make a decision on him. You're either going to keep him and figure it out, or you're going to trade him and move on and go get Kyle Pitts. And it has to happen before the draft. They can't wait. I think he's a generational tight end. I don't think we'll see another type of tight end like this for a while. He's a Selleck type of Kelsey type of tight end. Excuse me to me. He's a Kelsey type of tight end. Jumps up, go gets the ball. He's a tall guy. He's a high point catcher. He's someone you have to have. He does everything that Evan Ingram doesn't do, and he also blocks. Evan Ingram cannot block. He is a liability in that for years.
You're not wrong, but I mean, Kyle Pitts has been flying up. I know the Keys have him as number 2 overall, which
I don't think he's going to be there at 11. Unfortunately, I think Jalen Waddle has the best chance to fall.
Jalen Waddle.
Well, so again, I think that brings up an interesting scenario for the Giants. You know, again, this is why I say I don't like the mock drafts. People are doing their mock drafts too early. You can't do the mock drafts till free agency's over because Trevor Keys and I actually had a funny phone call about this the other day because he was like, we're going to do our mock draft. And I was like, and he thought I didn't like when they were doing a mock draft. And I said, no, listen, because when you do like an automated mock draft, you're the computer's like, right? If you're picking for the Giants at 11 and Trevor Lawrence is there, you would take him, right?
It's going to take the best option, yeah.
You take him. And, like, I mean, I've seen people post some of their mock drafts, and it's like, he's not going to be there at 11. And it's like, well, he was on the mock I just did. Why? Because the mock's not taking into account anything, like free agency or team needs, probably. So but I think, look, if you're gonna do a mock draft and you're really gonna talk about what everybody's gonna do, and you take into account clearly things like what free agent moves that these teams are gonna make, it's certainly. Oh, stop! By the way, Gary Sanchez is absolutely murdering it, and so you all look silly at this point. But keep up the jokes. Watch the guy win the MVP like Aaron Judge and
all
DJ
right, this is a Giants show, not a Yankee show. We don't want to hear that trash.
Not a blasphemy show.
Get your crybaby Red Sox Mets garbage out of here, babies. Anyway, the Giants are in a good spot here. I'm excited.
All right. Before we move on, I do want to bring up this that Trevor said. Joe Thuney going to the Chiefs. I don't necessarily think that's that great of a signing. You're losing 2 to get 1. You're losing Fisher and you're losing Swartz.
They'll get somebody in the draft. They'll get younger.
But yeah, I mean, Thuney's a guard. He's a great guard, but I mean, they still need help at tackle, and we saw it in the Super Bowl.
When you're the Chiefs, you're lucky enough to not have as much needs as other teams, so they'll figure it out in the draft. Yeah. Another lineman. It's not that.
But we saw how badly they needed an offensive line in the Super Bowl. They needed receivers to catch the ball.
They didn't need offensive line. They needed receivers to catch the ball. That's what it was.
They needed both.
You're not wrong. But all right, let's close the show out with a outstanding topic. Who are your 4 faces on your Giants Mount Rushmore? Joe, we've done this on throwing jabs, so I'll let you go first.
So easily number 1 is Lawrence Taylor. He's probably on the NFL's Mount Rushmore, so that's an easy pick. Number 2, and this was difficult for me because I had to pick the quarterback, and I did go with the contemporary Eli Manning. Michael Strahan is definitely, I think, the greatest Giant of this current generation, and my 4th and final face, and one that's often on TV, like Mr. Strahan, Tiki Barber.
Ooh. All right. I like that.
That's solid. That's a solid. That almost feels like a millennial picking the Mount Rushmore, but that's how I was feeling today. You know what I'm saying? Like I was thinking about Harry Carson and Leonard Marshall, some guys like that, and I thought, no, let me freshen it up for the youngsters.
What about Frank Gifford?
Love Frank. Little Y8 tittle.
Maybe so.
I was like, yeah, Giants, bro.
Joe Morrison. That's right. There was a white running back named Joe Morrison about 5 years before there was one of my all-time favorite New York Giants, Joe Morris, who led the Giants to the 86 Super Bowl. Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of great Giants. Brad Van Pelt,
Yeah, the bunch crunch.
George. Oh yeah,
boy.
this
All
was
right.
a tough list, but that's mine. So
Sean,
have at it.
what's yours?
Yeah, mine's basically the same except for the last one. Obviously LT, I think he's the greatest football player of all time, let alone Giants. So he's got to be on there. Eli Manning has to be on there. I think obviously led us to 2 Super Bowls, and I think he has 2 of the greatest postseason runs of all time in 07 and 11. So I think that he's got to be on there. He was the face of the franchise for the past, the 16 years he was here. Strahan's on there for me too. Obviously he has the record for sacks in the season. He won Defensive Player of the Year in 2001. And he's up there in the all-time sacks list, and he's 7-time Pro Bowler, and he went out on top with the Super Bowl. So I think Strahan's got to be on there. And then my switched up for the last one is Harry Carson, who I put on there. He's 9-time Pro Bowler. He was part of the Giants' first Super Bowl when they beat the Broncos, and he's part of one of the best linebacking cores of all time with Harry Carson, LT, and Carl Banks. So I think that he needed to be on there. So that's my Mount Rushmore of Giants all time.
All right. I like it. Zay?
Bro, this is the hardest list ever. You realize that, right? I think it's pretty much like this. So I got LT up there at number 1. I got Eli Manning, number 2. Number 3, obviously Michael Strahan. But number 4, I switched it up. And I chose Antro Roll. And a lot of people wouldn't pick him, but he really was a huge part of that 2011 run. And he really held that defense together and really got them going back. To me, I think Antro Roll should be up there. I don't think he's top 4 of all time, but I do believe he's one of the great Giants, though, of all time. I do believe that.
All right. So
like
just plain and simple, the 3 are the 3. It's just whoever's that 4th. And I love the Antro Roll pick, but I went completely different. Tom Coughlin.
We could pick Coach.
He's a Giant. Is he not a Giant? Was he not a Giant when he was coaching the Giants?
I guess then I would like Bill Parcells, and we could have kept going.
When you're talking about Giants history, you got to talk about the coaches, and right. I would love to put Bill Parcells on there, but I'd be doing myself a disservice because I was not alive during his time as the Giants coach.
He wasn't as great as everybody thinks he was. I love the big tuna. Don't get me wrong. He was a guy who had really good guys around him. And you saw a lot of them have gone on to great things. Obviously, Bill Belichick being one of them.
Yeah.
He was a real student of the game. He'd worked under Bear Bryant at Alabama. I mean, this guy had like Parcells is part of a much, we talk about the Parcells coaching tree. He's part of a coaching tree. He was great. I think having Lawrence Taylor was, if there's a knock on Phil Jackson, it's, what did Phil do with the Knicks, right? I mean, he had Jordan and Pippen and won a bunch of championships, and then he had Kobe and Shaq, right? You're like, the triangle, but does it help to have 4 of the greatest players of all time doing it as well? Is that the difference between that and when he got to the Knicks? So, again, it's sort of like with Eli, where great seasons followed by a lot of mediocrity. And so it's easy to sort of inflate how great Parcells was.
No, yeah, I get it. And the reason
Tom Coughlin won as many Super Bowls as Bill did, so less time.
And I would be doing myself
and without Lawrence Taylor.
I saw all the Tom Coughlin ones. I'd be doing myself a
should have won 3. We should have had 07.
Parcells over there.
If Plaxico never shot himself, they should have won the year after.
Oh my goodness. I hate that we have to say that.
True. It's just one of the things you got to live with. That's one thing you learn about being a New York fan. There's some type of embarrassment you have to live with. Whether it's Daniel Jones running and tripping, Mark Sanchez falling into somebody's ass crack. This is New York, and this is just what we deal with.
Oh, you remember the Black Cat game?
Yeah. How about when they?
I was there.
He was there.
Were you really?
I was at the game. Yeah, Giants Cowboys Monday night.
I mean, don't forget that victory formation was started after the Giants blew a handoff to win a game that Herm Edwards scooped up and ran in for a game-winning score. Deshaun Jackson, if I see that video one more time.
Oh, my goodness.
The NFL loves to post that like every
Hey,
single
Matt
month.
I
Dodge.
broke my
Hey,
phone.
Matt Dodge, just kick it out of bounds. Just kick it out of bounds. Out of bounds.
And every time you see it, you want to throw your TV. No matter how many times you see it, you want to throw your TV. It feels.
Yeah, I think that's easily my worst memory watching the Giants. I was bawling my eyes out after that.
Just kick it out of bounds.
It was embarrassing.
God.
That was an embarrassing week in school. That was a very embarrassing week in school.
Yeah, that might be next week's topic. What is the worst Giants moment? Or that might be a topic coming up down the road.
I on that.
I know what mine is. I was at one of the worst games the Giants have ever played, and in one of the worst moments, a franchise-changing moment that I'll share when we do that.
Okay.
Nice
All right.
tease.
He like 18 interceptions. He was at that Washington.
All right.
We got a list of this. This could go a while. Worst Giants moments. This could go.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. But thank you guys. Thank you, Joe, Sean, and Zay for joining me. Thank you guys for listening and watching. And we will see you next week for more Jawing About the G-Men. Take care.